When I was in college, I bought a refrigerator magnet with the simple phrase, "Dwell in possibility." For years, I stuck that magnet on every refrigerator I owned. It became my mantra. What would you do if you were told that your new baby was going to die before he reached kindergarten? That question had never occurred to me until I held my 2-week-old son, Henry, in my arms as the head of genetics at Children's National Medical Center said the words Fanconi anemia to me in November of 1995. I answered that question by assembling a team of doctors who, like me and my husband, Alan, refused to accept Henry's fate without a fight. I became a patient advocate for stem cell research, and I explored everything medically possible in an effort to save Henry's life and that of other kids whose genes foretold an early and painful death. I became a pioneer on the medical frontier and an advocate for a new reproductive genetics procedure that landed us in the middle of the raging stem cell debate of the mid-1990s. It also landed us on ABC News' Nightline and on the cover of the New York Times Magazine, ultimately saving countless young lives, just not Henry's. Along the way, I learned the vital importance of living life to its fullest, having ice cream for dinner, watching the sunset, waking up for the sunrise, going to the show or the game or the beach, just in case the unimaginable happens. What would you do if your 7-year-old son died after convincing you and everyone else who knew him that he was invincible? On what would have been Henry's 8th birthday, my husband and I were forced to tackle that devastatingly heartbreaking question. Instead of planning a birthday party, we launched Hope for Henry Foundation to fill a critical gap in services that we had experienced during and after Henry's bone marrow transplant at age 4.5. Henry experienced every complication imaginable, and he had spent 2.5 years in hospitals around the country. We had accessed great medical care, but none of the hospitals had any sustained services that recognized that kids like Henry were normal kids who needed to be able to do the things that normal kids do, even if, especially if, they were spending long periods of time in the hospital. Being in the hospital is boring. It's scary. It's painful. It's lonely. It's isolating. It's that way if you're an adult. Just imagine if you're a kid. We believed that it would be possible to change medical outcomes by giving kids incentives to do what they needed to do to heal, by funding full-time child life specialists to be by their bedside from diagnosis to the end of treatment, and by providing daily entertaining distractions. Today, 15 years later, the smiles on the faces of the more than 40,000 kids and their improved paths to recovery are proof that we were onto something. Dwell in possibility.